right, now before we get back into the episode, we've got a big announcement to make. We want to show some love to our first ever sponsor, Mykin. That's spelled M-Y-K-Y-N. Mykin is a high-end luxury eyewear brand focused on quality, craftsmanship, and timeless style. These aren't just glasses, y'all. They're statement pieces. For those of you watching on YouTube, you can see I'm wearing an exclusive pair right now. Look at the style. I love the dark frames. Right now, you can get 25% off when you use our code GoodPeople25 at mykinbrand.com. Again, that's GoodPeople25 at MYKYN brand.com. If you love Song of the Week, do us a favor, grab a pair. GoodPeople25 for 25% off. Big love to Mykin for supporting Song of the Week. Let's get into the episode. Good people, as Bill would say, on the quest for good content, welcome back to another episode of Song of the Week. You've got the two-man pick and roll, the LeBron to K-Love, little dump down, swing to the corner. You got Jordan and David today, the roommates. Dave, what's poppin', my brother?
Everything's fantastic, my guy. It's wonderful to see you. Wonderful to be here. We're approaching a big deal in the American sports calendar, the Super Bowl coming up. There's a lot going on in the world right now. There's a lot of bad and negative things happening. And I think that the Super Bowl, on one hand, is kind of like the circus, and can be viewed as like a distraction in a bad way, away from things that are important and deserve everyone's attention and energy. And at the same time, because I think life is complicated, like it also is like a way of catharsis and people coming together around the things and thing that they love with family oftentimes and people that they love, which is great, and one of the best things about us. So with that in mind, we're going to do some Super Bowl content, and we are going to talk about some halftime performances, because the Super Bowl in itself has become a big deal. The Super Bowl halftime performance is like as big a deal as the game, or more so for a lot of people. So, Jordan, I'm excited to be here to talk about that with you today, because there's a lot to get into.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited. Like you said, so as everybody knows by now, I think, who listens to the podcast, we pre-record everything. So this episode is scheduled to come out the Tuesday after Super Bowl Sunday. So David and I are recording before the game. This is the week of the Pro Bowl, I believe. And yeah, it's a good time to talk football. It's a good time to talk Super Bowl. And like you said, the Super Bowl, part of, if not the most memorable thing of the Super Bowl every year, is the halftime performance. And with us being a music channel and this being a music podcast, this is a cool opportunity to talk about our favorite Super Bowl halftime performances and kind of the impact that the Super Bowl halftime performance has on society and culture. If you've been a subscriber of the channel since the beginning, our first successful video on the channel was David and I reacting to last year's Super Bowl halftime performance, which was the Kendrick Lamar halftime performance, which was one of the best ones I can remember. It's interesting. I haven't watched that video in a while, but it's interesting rewatching that Super Bowl performance now, almost a year removed, and remembering how I felt about it at the moment and how I feel about it now. But yeah, so the Super Bowl is upon us, man, and I'm excited. I'm excited to talk a little bit of Super Bowl halftime. Dave, you have any thoughts before I jump right in?
No, I think you summed it up well. The only thing I'll say is, like, in prepping for this, and as I'm just like looking through my notes and stuff and the lists that I could find, I think the first like official, or what I'm considering the era of Super Bowl performances that we're looking at, starts in 1991 with New Kids on the Block. I think is probably the first like Super Bowl performance in the way that we're thinking about it, which is also the year that we were both born, and so that's a fun little tidbit. So we're kind of looking at our lifetime basically of performances, and the one thing I'll say is that, man, there are some hitters. There are some absolutely heavy hitters that have performed at the Super Bowl, and they kind of build up to it becoming the spectacle and the event that it is now. Like, kind of makes sense when you see like how concerted of an effort has been made to get like the biggest possible names in music and performance to do this. So we are not starved for choice when it comes to pick our favorite performance and then a song of the week, from that artist. There's going to be some good options here for sure.
For sure. Before I get into my song of the week, and we don't do this often, but I want to give like a quick book recommendation / shout out. We've talked about this guy a few times. Chuck Klosterman just wrote this book called Football. Literally, the title of the book is Football, and it released a couple days ago. I just bought it. And it's a good book, man. It's interesting. He talked about this on Bill Simmons' podcast a couple weeks ago, and then he also talks about it in the prelude to the book, or the whatever the first chapter is called, the introduction. It's a book he's trying to put in perspective. I don't want to butcher this, Chuck. I'll make a clip of this so Chuck can see it. What he's trying to do is he's writing this book for people 30, 40, 50 years from now who don't understand how important football is to our society now. And so it's a book about the history of the sport, and it's trying to put into perspective what football means to us as a society today. And it's a cool read. I'm a slow reader, so it's going to take me a week or so to read this, but it's funny that we're having this call now because I literally just got done reading. He does kind of this 15-page excerpt on Friday Night Lights, which is one of you and I's favorite college roommate shows. With the Super Bowl and the halftime performance coming up, it's cool to just think about football in general and how much it means to our culture, and again, how much the Super Bowl halftime performance means to our culture.
I love it. Chuck is a great writer. As a part of his like press tour for this book, he had a great appearance on Pablo Torre's. Pablo Torre finds out another awesome, different kind of writer and journalist, but two great dudes. And yeah, look, we could do a whole fries at the bottom, and maybe we will, about football becoming America's pastime, and kind of, I think, supplanting baseball. For now, I think we're going on like multiple generations of that being the case. But like, yeah, there's a whole pool to dive into, I think, of the reasons why and how that's happened over time. And the Super Bowl and then the halftime performance of the Super Bowl, it's kind of like the perfect summation, of all those things, because a big part of it is not just the game, but it's this commercial and like pop cultural connection, to the event itself, and like the spectacle of it. Which I think
no, go ahead. My bad.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I think we saw in the last whatever it's been with like the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce relationship, and this huge influx of fans into football that kind of don't care about the football, but now are here and are part of the culture of it. That's not fair to say don't care about the football. But what I mean is, like, that wasn't their entry point into the fandom was the product on the field. So it's interesting. It's a really interesting thing to examine, because it's definitely like a unique type of thing in our culture.
Absolutely. The Super Bowl is all of the things that we loathe in American culture, right? It's all about, you know what I mean? Like football obviously being the number one thing, and then pop culture, music, celebrities that, glorifying people that are just normal people that have jobs of notoriety, chicken wings, beer, like it's all of the things that us in American culture loathe. And I love it. I love the Super Bowl, and I'm excited and I'm excited for it.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, it's one of the most American things about us, and that cuts both ways, for good and bad, and all the excesses. And then, like I was saying before, all the, like you just say, the unity and fun and joy that it brings people is like undeniable, also. And so it's definitely an interesting time, and for us, I think, as a channel, it's fun as kind of a full circle moment, to be back here at the Super Bowl again, with coming up on 10,000 of our closest friends as their subscribers here on the channel, who we are super grateful to and excited to continue to chat. So
on that note, people, let's hop into our favorite Super Bowl halftime performances, and we are going to pick a song from that artist that did that performance. I'm going to kick us off, and I'm going to take us to 2013 New Orleans Super Bowl, the San Francisco 49ers versus the Baltimore Ravens, and your girl, Beyoncé. The queen, baby, Queen B. I think what's interesting about this performance is this is before Lemonade, Renaissance, and Cowboy Carter. Like, those 3 albums hadn't come out yet. I think those are 3 of her best albums, maybe the 3 best albums of her career, and this is still a great performance. This is a great Super Bowl in general for those of you that love Super Bowls. This is the Colin Kaepernick versus Joe Flacco Super Bowl, and if you remember, there was a power outage right after Beyonce's performance at halftime that swung the momentum of the game, and the Ravens ended up coming back to win that Super Bowl in New Orleans. So that was a really fun one. But, I think besides all of that, it's Beyonce. She's playing the hits. She's doing Single Ladies. I think she ends with Halo. I can't remember what song she opened with, but it's a really good Beyonce performance. But most importantly to me, why I really like this performance is because it gives me an opportunity to talk about Destiny's Child, who Beyonce brought out for the last 5 minutes of this performance. Destiny's Child is, I think they're the second or third most important female R&B group ever. I think it's them, the Supremes, and TLC. Which one you want to say is number 1, number 2, number 3? I'll leave that up to you guys to debate in the comments. But those are the 3 most important female R&B groups ever. I would take Spice Girls out of that because Spice Girls to me is a pop group, not an R&B group. But Destiny's Child is, like, if you know ball, you know that Destiny's Child is important. They are incredibly important for our generation. Like, they were the most popular female group out when we were kids, for sure. And they launched the career of Beyonce, who is the most important performer of our lifetime. Well, I mean, it's her, Prince, Michael Jackson, and Madonna. Like, those are the most important performers of our lifetime, and maybe throw in Bruce Springsteen for those of you that like Bruce Springsteen. So this is a cool one because it has Destiny's Child, and I love Destiny's Child. And so my song of the week is going to be Girls by Destiny's Child off of their album Fulfilled. This is a great song for many reasons, but the main reason, in my opinion, that I like this song is that it makes me think of this joke by this comedian named Teddy Ray, who's no longer living. Teddy Ray had a really good set that you can find on YouTube where he says, "There's a real nigga right now in his car on his way home listening to Destiny's Child." And it's so true. Like, I don't care how tough you are. I don't care how much about that life you are. Like, you like Destiny's Child. They got some bangers. He said every real nigga knows this song, talking about Girls. He said, I don't care how many murders you've got. I don't care how much dope you sold. You know Girls by Destiny's Child. And he's absolutely right. Girls is a banger. And that is going to be my song of the week, Girls by Destiny's Child.
That is hilarious, and that's a great choice. That's a great choice. Iconic group. Yeah, please give us your thoughts down in the comments about most iconic groups of that kind. To your point, not pop groups, but soul singing groups.
Yeah, like specifically R&B.
Or R&B. Yeah,
they're up there.
Yeah, I like it. No, I think certainly in our lifetime, and us growing up, they were a huge deal. And like you said, Beyonce got on to become Beyonce, which is pretty undeniable. So I love that choice.
I'm gonna test your black card a little bit here, Dave.
Oh, I like it. All right.
Are you familiar with the Destiny's Child performance at the BET Awards where they did their song "Cater to You," where they get on stage and give Magic Johnson and Terrence Howard a lap dance?
Well, I will submit, as I usually do. I will submit my black card via being friends with you and our other black friends, and say that I was introduced to that clip in college when you showed it to me, because I don't know, probably like a lot of white kids, most of my exposure to the Destiny's Child was through, I'm a Survivor,
Bootylicious, yeah,
the hits, and like kind of the packaged version of that. But no, I look, you know, we said on the channel many times, like you helped me get introduced to like R&B music in a real way, in a lot of ways, and um, appreciate not just understanding but appreciating the role that Destiny's Child has played and continues to play. Shout out Kelly Rowland. Um, you know, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. So I think it's a great pick, and it's not a you know it was Beyonce who headlined the Super Bowl, but it was important that she brought Destiny's Child out, and they also had their moment. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's it's crazy that to us, Destiny's Child is such a big part of her legacy, and there are so like, she's been such a popular solo artist now that there are people that don't realize that she was in Destiny's Child. Like, it's always funny. The NBA is really good about this. When they draft new players, they'll do like, you know, guess the 2000s or whatever, and they'll show them pictures of Destiny's Child, and they're like, "What's the name of this group?" And there was this one kid that literally said, "Oh, that's the Beyoncé sisters." I can't remember what kid said it. He was like, "Yo, I know them. That's the Beyoncé sisters." It's like,
Yeah,
no, you idiot.
that's
Destiny's
not
Child,
strong Kelly Rowland. Yeah, come
Destiny's
on.
Child sold 60 million records, and these kids don't even know who they are.
Beyonce's sisters. That's
The
pretty good.
Beyoncé
That's
sisters.
pretty good. Well, good choice, JB. Very good choice. And I'm gonna, you know, like I mentioned at the top, this is a crazy list. You know, it's like MJ's on here, Diana Ross is on here, Patti LaBelle and Tony Bennett performed at the Super Bowl. Boys to Men, Stevie Wonder. I mean, it's like Paul
Prince.
McCartney, for God's sake, Prince. I mean, it's like, you know, it really is royalty. So we can't go wrong here. So because of all those huge names, you know, I'm going to go a little bit left field with it. And as always, you know, I'm going to stick close to home. And pretty close to the year that you were talking about, because you talked about the Beyonce performance in 2013, and I'm just going to go right the year following that, where Bruno Mars was the main headliner, but the secondary performer, or the whoever the co-headliner, was Los Angeles' own, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Um, and I'm not picking this because it was the best Super Bowl performance of all time. That maybe is a debate for another day. But I was lucky enough to be at the 2017 and 18 Super Bowls to see Lady Gaga and Justin Timberlake perform live. There's been a lot of iconic performances, but this one stuck out to me. Because I felt, as a kid, grew up in LA, I felt like kind of like pride and ownership, when RHCP, as we called them, did well. Kind of in the same way that like Sublime and other kind of like Southern California local acts, you know, it's a huge area. When those types of acts did well, it like meant something to me. And so seeing Anthony Kiedis and the Red Hot Chili Peppers on the stage at the Super Bowl performing at that scale was cool, even though at that point I was already, you know, out of college or whatever, back living in LA. Um, it like stuck out to me, and it's always I've always had a soft spot in my heart for it. So I'm picking that performance, and within the Red Hot Chili Peppers discography, there's a lot of different directions to go because they've had a really interesting musical history. Um, you gave a book recommendation earlier, Jordan, so I don't have a copy of it sitting right next to me, but I'm going to recommend to everyone who listens to read Scar Tissue, which is Anthony Kiedis's autobiography. Um, Gives you a pretty good sense of the story, of his personal story, which is a really wild life that he's lived, filled with drug addiction and all the highs and lows that come with being an addict and being a rock star. But also tells the story of the band, which, you know, are all LA locals, and really grew up very close to where I grew up, you know, lost people, you know, have dealt with tragedy and amazing success. And it's just a great book, and it's a band that I think is easy to kind of fall in love with, because they really put their heart and soul into what they do. So we could go with some earlier era stuff of theirs, which is really kind of funky, and like Anthony Kiedis does like rapping and certain things. And it's a very like bass driven. Flea, their bassist, is iconic. It's very Flea bass driven, slappy kind of sound, which some people kind of gravitate towards. Californication era, kind of them molding into more of a pop band, kind of going into that that sphere. By the time that they headlined the Super Bowl, that's kind of the mode that they were in. But I'm going with a little bit of a one-off song, which is called "Soul to Squeeze" by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and it's not actually from an official album of theirs. I think in my research into it or remembering it, it's around the Blood Sugar Sex Magic album. It was like around those sessions, but they made this song as an official song for the Coneheads movie, which came out in 1993. Shout out Dan Aykroyd, who only on Good People are you going to get a Kelly Rowland and a Dan Aykroyd show in the
Yeah,
same
that's
in the same 10 minutes.
Conehead. I don't think I've ever seen Coneheads.
Get on it, my guy. The 90s comedy. I don't know, a classic. That might be a little bit strong, but it's certainly a memorable movie. And this song is a, I would say it's almost like a quintessentially Red Hot Chili Peppers song in that, like, there's a very, very memorable, not in the way that I just described with Flea's bass, but in the different era of the Chili's. Very memorable John Frusciante, who's the guitarist of the Chili Peppers, who's criminally underrated, I would say, as a guitarist, a really unbelievably talented person. Really, really kind of like Frusciante-esque little guitar riff on it. Southern California kind of energy flowing throughout the song. And then some like kind of vague, almost nonsensical, but perfect for what the vibe is, Anthony Kiedis lyrics on top of the song. And it's kind of beautiful. It's reflective of like his experience, like a lot of the songs are, as an addict and what he's going through emotionally. And for me personally, in addition to just being from LA, one of the first things I ever did creatively when I was in high school was film a music video for my film class to this song with my friends at my friend's house. And the process of doing that and, putting a little project together and filming it, etc., was one of the first things that I remember like really committing to as a creative project and seeing all the way through, which I have incredibly fond memories of. And I'm lucky enough to get to continue to do that with my friends to this day. So yeah, kind of an oddball choice, but we're picking Bruno Mars and the Red Hot Chili Peppers from the 2014 Super Bowl halftime performance. And my song of the week is "Soul to Squeeze" by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I love that, bro. It's cool. So that's a really fun performance. It's interesting. So I like I was saying before we hopped on, I went back and I watched 10 to 15 of the old performances on YouTube. And the thing that I noted with that one is it was cool how seamlessly the Red Hot Chili Peppers music blended with Bruno Mars's music at the end of his performance. I don't listen to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but when they came on with the "Give it away, give it away, give it away now," like it was dope. That was a cool one. It was fun going back and rewatching those. Like I think I was telling you, I had forgotten the Timberlake one was better than I remembered. The one that I remembered really liking as a kid and then rewatching it and then being like, this actually isn't as dope as I remembered, it was the Janet Jackson one that also featured Timberlake. But there was like there was a pop-up with Nelly and Kid Rock in that one. And then the version of that one that I watched on YouTube, they're like trying to cut Diddy out of it, but Diddy's right there also.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fun going back and rewatching those. What do you have like a tradition for Super Bowl Sunday, right? Like you always go to the same person's house?
Yeah. My godfather, Lou Matthews, who's a award-winning author, short story author and teacher, one of the most interesting and wonderful people in the world. And I'm very, very grateful to get to count him as my godfather, and his wife, Allison Turner, who's a unbelievably accomplished poet in her own right, as my godmother, in addition to being award-winning and accomplished writers and creative people in their own right. Lou is the best barbecue chef that I know, that I've ever met. And I am lucky enough to get to grace their house every year for Super Bowl festivities and barbecue. And going way back my entire life, I've been able to do this since I was, I don't even know, pretty young, like 10, 11 years old. Getting to help Lou out in the prep and cooking and getting everything ready is just like truly one of my fondest memories and things that I hold close. So I'm excited. Unfortunately, my team, my Rams fell a little bit short this year in the NFC Championship game, but congrats to the Seahawks. You know, they're a good team, and I think Hawks Patriots is a pretty good matchup. And you know, I think I won't say too much about it because Jordan, I feel like we might do just a Super Bowl kind of like prep or, you know, look ahead to the actual game a little bit here at some point. But I think it's going to be a pretty good matchup.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it too. I actually think I'm going to our buddy Tyler. So Tyler's fiance, Brooke, has invited me to her parents' house, I believe, is where they're having their Super Bowl party.
Excellent.
So I think I'm going to Tyler's future wife's parents' house for Super Bowl Sunday. I went over there like the day after. I can't remember if it was Christmas or Thanksgiving, but I had a good meal over there the last time I saw them, and I look forward to going back. So,
I want to go. That sounds phenomenal. And I want to go on record and we will tag her in this. Good people content. Love Brooke. Okay. Brooke, you're the best. Tyler, we love you too. But mostly Brooke, we love you. And we're very excited for you guys to be tying the knot. The whole channel is very excited.
also love Tyler's mother, who will be at this party. I was over there watching the Texans game, the Texans Patriots game,
Yeah.
and it's always good to see Tyler's folks. But anyway,
hold on. I'm really glad. Sorry, we're off the rails here.
Yeah,
but
go ahead.
I'm gonna get my ass kicked because you saved me. How can I not mention Miss Sinclair? I mean, I swore to Miss Sinclair once that if I ever won any kind of big award, I would shout her out, and I would shout out Parma, Ohio, where they live. So huge shout out, Miss Sinclair. Jordan, thank you for bringing that up. That's an important one.
Yes. I always give Miss Sinclair a hard time because every time I see her now, I remind her of the time that we went over to the Sinclair's house for Easter Sunday. And as you know, I'm a pastor's kid, right? So and if you guys are no longer interested in listening to us ramble, I understand. But
this is Patreon content.
Yeah, but this is good. Like if you guys like us at this point, this is a good story. So in college, our buddy Tyler, who was our roommate one year, we had this weird roommate situation, but all three of us were roommates. We go to Tyler's place up in Cleveland for Easter Sunday, and our school was about an hour and a half from Cleveland. And, you know, here's me. I'm a pastor's kid. Easter Sunday, to me, like the most secular version of Easter Sunday is the Easter egg hunt type joint. And then obviously the other version is like prayer and whatever. So we go to Tyler's house, and I don't really know what to anticipate. And we get there, and Tyler's mom greets us at the door with Jello shots and Yinglings and the best Easter spread that I've ever had in my life. I don't remember which one of us stayed sober so that we could drive back to college that day, but one of us had to because the rest of us got it going on Easter Sunday.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me on that day.
It wasn't me either. So I don't remember who did, but it wasn't you or I. We had a hell of a day. But I tell Tyler's mom that story every time I see her now because I don't think she realized my dad was a pastor at the time. So now she's like mortified every time she sees me when I tell her that. It's hilarious.
One of my memories of that day is Tyler's grandfather.
Oh gosh,
who must have been in, you know, certainly his 70s, I would maybe even his 80s at that point, ripping Jello shots right along with us and having a ball, having a ball. And I was just some Jewish kid who found himself in Northeast Ohio, like celebrating Easter, you know, by like getting hammered at my friend's parents' house, which, yeah, good times. I hope folks appreciated that story.
So I did have a closing thought that didn't have anything to do with Jello shots on Easter. So we're talking about the Super Bowl, and you know, it makes me think of the game in particular. It makes me think of this massive game that is the biggest moment of everybody on the field's career, whether they've won a Super Bowl or not. It feels like that is the biggest moment of their career. And I was thinking about some of the past games, and I was thinking about preparation. And with this year being the Seahawks and Patriots, it's a rematch of one of the best Super Bowls of our lifetime, the Malcolm Butler play at the goal line to seal the Patriots' victory over the Seahawks. And there's 100 different iterations of that story, right? There's people on the Seahawks side telling that story. There's people on the Patriots side telling that story. But the most important detail I think of that story is the preparation that went into Malcolm Butler making that play. The Patriots guys all talk about how they knew in that situation, in the goal line situation, the Seahawks like to run a certain play. And if you go back and you watch the Malcolm Butler play, he beats the receiver to the ball because he knows where the ball is going. And so, the message in that is just there's no such thing as being over-prepared. The Patriots are known for their attention to detail, their diligence, their do-your-job mentality in the locker room and in the practice facility. And Malcolm Butler was prepared in that moment to make the biggest play of his life. I don't know about you, David, but I had never heard of Malcolm Butler until that play. But because he was prepared, he's now immortalized as making one of the best defensive plays in Super Bowl history and making the most memorable, in my opinion, the most memorable play in Super Bowl history of my lifetime. So whatever it is that you're doing in life, just make sure that you're taking the right steps to be prepared, because you never know when the moment's going to call for you to do what you need to do. So that's my message to get out of here. David, you got anything else before we go?
One thought, which is to say, that was a great play, and everything about your point is very well made. I would point you to, I forget which Super Bowl it is, but the Rams Super Bowl victory in 1999, rather. Greatest show on turf. Rams Titans. Steve McNair driving the entire length of the field against the Rams to win the Super Bowl. If not for one Mike Jones, who made an unbelievable tackle of, I think it was Kevin Dyson at the 1 yard line or half yard line.
Yeah, it sure was. It was Kevin Dyson.
Which made a 10-year-old David incredibly happy, but I think is also the same like level of what you're talking about, of like truly everything on the line in the biggest game, in the biggest moment. Sometimes it does come down to one person and their preparation and ability to, that's the thing about preparation, is you do it and then you let it go and you trust yourself in the moment. And those guys were able to kind of etch themselves into history. So I just wanted to add Mike Jones and the Rams Super Bowl victory into the equation on your nice closing thought. But well said, my friend. And this is a fun one. I'm glad we got to do this one.
Yeah, this was fun. All right. Well, until next time, this is Song of the Week. You had Jordan and David, the pick and roll offense. Mama Sinclair, we love you. We're out of here. Peace.
Peace.